Okay, welcome back. So, it's starting to look a bit more like a car now. So, what have I done? I have slowly started to put the engine more and more together. Like I said, it's getting more full in here. So I connected up all the fuel line, all the carburetors connected. A lot of the stuff I didn't connect in the inside, but I did connect all the wiring over here, like the overdrive and all the rest of it. The HT leads are sitting there. I managed to get the front lights on. And I managed to, you can see there, the boot rack is on, or the luggage rack. So you start to look at it now, it's getting more and more like a car. So it's getting that shape. It's unfortunately getting a bit of dust in here as well. Anyway, so as you can see, I managed to get the dashboard on. In the last part, it was driving me nuts. What it turned out it was in the end was, because of the extra layering of the leather, it's a little extra layer, it's not huge, but also the crash pads. The crash pads are actually sitting up, so I had to loosen them and push them down and tighten them again to open up the gap. With the extra layering as well, that didn't help. Plus, I ended up shaving off the bottom of the dashboard, just to shave and just to narrow it down to help it go in. So once I'd done all that, I got it on. So yeah, at least I know for next time now, if I'm putting leather on, that I'll have to take a small shaving off the bottom of the wood. Just the edging, not the flat end, just the edging to allow it to slip in a little bit more. So you'll never even know it was done. What else? Played with the window for a while. I couldn't get this to work right. I tried changing the regulator by manipulating it. The tr6 wouldn't work. And I find that it's still hitting the top of the door here when the glass is, when it's up all the way and it comes in. So it looks like I'm stuck with now getting the door, and I'll probably have to inch it back a bit and actually tilt it. Now that will get rid of a gap that's up here, because it's a little gap up here, but it's going to be so minuscule, I have to make sure I don't create a gap at the front here as well. So why it looks like that, I don't know. It just won't work. I'm hoping I don't have the issue with this door, or however, when this came back from the body shop, the door was misaligned anyway. So I straightened that door, but there's no guarantee it's going to fit right either, because I had to put a new regulator in there. So I spent a lot of time with this door, and it drove me absolutely nuts. So yeah, I had to sort of step away and do something else. So other than that, so these are all connected. The 4 gauges are connected. So now I have my oil, fuel, temp, and volt all connected, and nothing else is. So what I'm moving on to now is I hope to put power through it, which is I call the live step. So technically the car is going to go live, so power now. However, what I done yesterday was I refer to as my wet test. The wet test is when I've gone, I put fuel in it, maybe not too much, just a small bit of fuel, put some fuel in it, put oil in it, and I put coolant into it. So I put all the liquids in, and I basically leave it static for 24 hours. And I'm looking for any leaks on the system. So I'm looking, is there any fuel naturally dripping out somewhere? Is there any coolant naturally dripping? Or is there any oil that's naturally dripping out something before you even put any pressure on the system? When you put pressure on the system, they heat up, they do expand, and they can't seal themselves. However, you want to see, is there any loose connections or something I did not tighten, and I'll look for it. So I'm looking for drips. Lucky enough, no fuel has come out, which is good. I've had 0 coolant leak, which is good. Oh, actually, sorry, I did. I had a drop or two, because the core plugs on this side, I don't think were in all the way, so I gave them another tap in, and I haven't seen a drop since. That can be, yeah, just putting them core plugs in can be a bit of a nightmare. But then there was no oil leak and no fuel leak either. So far it's all dry underneath, which is good. However, that doesn't mean anything until you actually pressurize the system and see where it goes. So now I know that's looking good, we're going to go live. So I have the battery here, I have the negative hooked up, and I'm going to put the positive on it for the first time. This is the moment of truth in some way, because there's now power going through it, and so I have to be mindful that in case there's any wires or whatever that's loose and are a live wire, in other words, i.e. the usual ones, the purples or the whites, then when I turn the ignition key onto MAF, power runs through the car, then the last thing I want to do is be grounding out off the body. So I have to make sure that there's nothing bare wire sitting against the body, so I'll have a little check of that. Other than that, what I'm trying to do is my test now, which is I want to turn it and actually see it crank. So I want the engine to crank over, and I'm looking for, again, any oil leak with a bit of pressure on the system. I want to make sure that the oil is getting up to the gauge, so I should be able to see that, and I'll be able to test the, it should, actually no, it may not work because the voltage regulator is not in it. I was hopefully going to test the fuel gauge to make sure that was working, but that can be down the line. I'm not too worried about that. All I want to do is see that when I turn the key that the engine cranks. I may have to connect the voltage stabilizer if the power runs in the back out, but I want to see it just crank around. And the whole idea is just to see it lube up the whole engine. As I said, there's a lot of oil in there at the moment, but I wanted to spread around and see if there's pressure going up to the gauge to make sure all the veins in it is clear, and that I haven't missed the plug, because it can happen. It has happened where I've gone through it and not tightened one up, or I put one plug in the wrong spot and then I've forgotten all about it, and I go, oh, it happens. I've left this oil feed line before. I connected it in but never connected it at the back, and I left the bolt out of it, and I turned over the engine was running like, why is there oil everywhere, and found out it was spewing out the back of the cylinder. Hey, we all get stuff wrong, and that's the way it goes. Like, that's why it's like, uh-oh, cross your fingers, I hope I buttoned up everything and I'm hoping I closed everything, but we find out. So that's it. So now it's time for the moment of truth. Let's see, let's put some power to it. So I'm going to have a quick look at the wiring and see what's loose, what's hanging, where it's hanging. The greens, everything is hanging off. Okay, that's fine. I'm just making sure nothing that has a bullet connector is touching the body anywhere, so it looks okay. Looks alright. So, let's stick some power to it and see how it goes. The Big Bang theory, the Big Bang if anything goes wrong. So, okay, no Big Bang yet. Some more slack on the cable. Bring the battery forward. I want to change this battery because I think it's I have a funny feeling this is a negative terminal. It looks awful big. Well, it's not fitting over it. So I have a funny feeling this is meant to be for the negative side. So the positive should be a bigger terminal. But if it works for now, just enough to hold on. Alright. So as long as it's touching off it, that's fine. So now I'm going to get my tester and make sure there's power running through. So before I turn anything. Beauty. So we have power going here, and we have power going to our purple. There shouldn't be any power anywhere else. Beauty. So that's fine. And again, there's no bang, there's no smoke. It is what it is. There's always not worrying power. So now I'm going to get the key and turn onto the ignition. Now I've turned it over, and now I'm going to check these to make sure we have power on this side. Yep, power on the white, power on the green. Beauty. So power's going through the way it should do at the moment. I have the fasten seatbelt light on for some apparent reason. And I am reading, this is a good thing about it. Yep. I haven't got it connected in yet, but it's telling me already the voltage on the volts gauge, So it's telling me just under 12 volts from the battery. So that's pretty good. So, sorry, the lens must be a little dirty. Hang on a second. Bit of a glare off it. But it's showing me the volts on it, so that's pretty good. So, next thing I want to do is crank it to, I just want to crank it to literally spew some oil around. So, I don't think I have to crank the voltage stabilizer. Let's see. Hopefully she will turn. Nope. So I may have to connect the wire here. The ignition is connected. Now, I've got to find out why she's not actually just turning. It's going to there, it's going to there. Everything looks connected down here. So now, I just have to test why she's not actually getting power back down to the solenoid. Alright, so the first little part is okay, but now I'm getting no power down there. So, the starter solenoid should be ground and should run through another couple of wires. Alright. Let me pause this for a minute. I'm going to check to make sure all the wires are actually connected in there, because I know the ignition one is connected, but I might have to follow the wire back for the solenoid to make sure that it's actually in the terminal over here correctly, to make sure when the power goes back that it's actually firing out the solenoid. All right, I shall be back. In the meantime, some high speed of what I've done so far. So roll on the high speed. Welcome back. So, I found out what the issue was. It was actually the seat belt, the seatbelt module. So the plug has a little tab that's meant to turn that can only go in one way, and it sits in one way and one way only. However, the wiring harness I'm using for some reason doesn't have that tab on it. So I had it completely turned odd. So once I turned it into the right position and popped it in, everything was fine. Now, I ran into the next issue. Put the power to it just to give it a try, and it looks like this new high torque starter motor that comes from Moss Motors, and I didn't get it. It actually the owner brought it to me, so he managed to pick it up, and it was this new high torque one. I forget the brand name, but another person come back to me and says they don't like it because, well, not that they don't like it, it's no use because it doesn't throw out far enough to actually turn the motor. So he went and bought this starter, brought it to a shop, they put it in, he said it will not work. Under no love or money is this thing ever going to turn this engine over. And I seem to be experiencing the same thing. I'm trying to remember the brand of it now. It has like a bee or a hornet on it. I can't remember the brand of it. It'll come to me, or somebody will say it. When I take it out, I'll show you. Excuse me. So it looks like it's not thrown out far enough to actually spin the flywheel. Now, for what reason, I don't know. It's either wrong and it's banging off it, or it's going out and just clicking, or it sounds like it's going out and just spinning around and doing nothing. It's not even touching the flywheel. And I don't know why that is. Is it a case of that it's advertised for these cars? Maybe it's designed to fit with a certain flywheel that is shaped in a different position, that it's moved and it's closer. Maybe it's for the early models because the flywheel is narrower on that, so maybe the teeth are a little more forward. Either way, something's wrong. So I don't know why it doesn't work, but it is what it is. So now I have to go back to the original starter motor. Yeah, there's not much more I can do about that. It is what it is. So time to pull it out and put the original back in, and we'll go from there. Alright, welcome back. So, the moment of truth. However, it's not really. I have to be honest, I made a little bit of a boo-boo. So, if you look over here, you'll see there's different carburetors on the car. And the reason for that is, I pulled the stuff on, I done the wet test, that was fine. Then I want to do a compression just by turning it over and seeing it go up. The starter didn't work. So I know somebody dropped back, somebody dropped back one of these starter motors and said it doesn't work for the car. And then this happened with mine. And what I'll do is I'm gonna play for you now what happened when I actually turned it around. This is what happened with the starter. So have a listen, you'll see why I thought it wasn't thrown out far enough and wasn't working. That's not good. It sounds like it's not thrown out far enough in this clipping. Alright, as you can see, that does not sound good. So I presume that, again, it was like what someone told me, it wasn't thrown out far enough that I wasn't hitting it. I was under the illusion that, hey, wait, do you know what? Maybe this starter, maybe it's something different about it. It goes for a certain type of flywheel, or maybe an aftermarket flywheel, and that's when it catches. Long story short, which I'm making it a long story, is the battery was knackered. So the battery was not powerful enough to throw out. I'd recharged the battery, and I literally took the battery off charge, fully charged, turned it over, and that's what happened. So I was under the illusion it was a starter motor. It wasn't. The battery was taking a charge, but it wasn't charged enough. Anyway, I swapped over and put a different battery in for now, just a temporary one, and that worked fine. After I put an original starter back in the car. So I put the original starter in, the engine turned, great. So now I decided, hey, do you know what? I put the high torque one in, and it runs fine. Now, let me go back to why there's different carbs on it. So the carburetors I had on it, I removed from a different car. and I gave them back to the owner and I bought them back again for this car. However, the choke cable in it, and yeah, I wish they were like a 45 DCOE, but they weren't. They were 45 MCHH, is it? I think it is. But it has a little section where like a little counterweight that sits in there, and that's where the choke cable goes in on a spring, and it sort of pushes down. When you pull it, it comes up and wants to go back down again. Anyway, somewhere along the line when I took it apart, them pieces, the two weights, the connections and the springs, never made it into the box. So wherever happened to them, I don't know. So I couldn't actually run the carbs because that piece needed to be in there to block it off, and all I was doing was getting fuel. In fact, fuel was pissing out of it. Like, it was absolutely flowing out of it. I was like, what's wrong? So in the end, what I've done is I swapped them, and I've put these bad boys on. Some big ass HS6 or 8s. I believe they're 8, but these are big. They're big in size. So they will give you just as amount the power as the 45 DCO is. Anyway, so, oh no, yeah, here comes the train. So, 1 second, hang on. Wait for the train to go by. So, now that I changed the carbs, and I haven't plugged them up right, so if you notice there's two red things, these are meant to be plugged down into the canister, ideally through this, but I'm going to run its own one down to the canister. I'll just plug them up for now just to stop any air leak or vacuum leak. Just to see it turn over. I want to see if the engine actually turns over. Because I know that cranks, the starter works. So let's turn the key and listen. Do the pause. Alright, she's getting the. At least she's firing a bit. Probably has a. There goes. Let's play around with this a bit, maybe. There we go. Timing. So, and obviously what I wanted to check, oil pressure. Good oil pressure, that's good. Right? So I was actually just running there for a minute. I want to turn it off actually. I don't want to run it too much because I'm still looking for leaks. So the first time I cranked it, I realized the oil feed here wasn't connected, and I dropped a big pile of oil onto the ground. So now that I've sort of tightened that up a bit, but now what I'll do is it turns, it fires, there's oil pressure, that means the oil pump is working, all good. Anything after this can be fixed or tuned afterwards. All I'm really doing is looking for a big puddle on the ground, which I did leave, and that's why. So I tightened that up, but I'll come back to this engine later when I have all the rest of the stuff inside and all done, because I'll run that outside. I don't want to stink up the place, hence why the fan is on, because when I got to the fire, it stunk up the place for the first time. However, for the first time to turn around, this engine is set for the best part of a year and a half nearly since I built it. It sounds good. The engine sounds good considering I haven't even got all the plumbing done. I haven't fine-tuned it. I haven't done anything to it. There's no choke cable even on it, and that just poof. When I kicked over the first time and I seen the puddle, like I said, it fires over good. It's just obviously the time is off a tiny bit. So once I adjust that, it's going to be great. So I'll disconnect the battery for now, and that's it. So that's my live test complete. That turns over, fires, and that's it. I'll come back to that. Other than that, what else have I moved on to? I've started on the floor on this. So as you can see, there's two big, there's bits of carbs here because I was playing around with them carbs trying to get them on. I didn't realise because they're so big, the HS6 or 8s, the actual dimension of the hole in the back is way bigger. So I had to find the right gaskets and the right gap in place to allow the baffle to actually open. Otherwise I was just banging off the manifold. Anyway, so what I'm doing with this one is I am moving the seat back. So with that, what I've done is, hang on, I'm just going to move this out of the way. The easiest way I can do it is I have two big metal plates. And I'm putting them down, and they're bolted into the original seat track holders. What I'm going to do is I've marked where I'm going to put it on. Sorry for the thing. You see where I've marked it? So that's about 3.5 inches back. And the reason why I stopped there is because if I slide the chair all the way back, it literally starts to bump off here. So it's a max out you're going to get anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill into them and I'm going to tap them. So therefore I'll actually screw right through it. And if for some reason you want to go back to original, all I do is take it all back out and you can follow the original holes. So I'm not screwing anything else, but I'm using these big giant thick plates, which are at least a 1/4 inch thick, as joint washers to distribute the weight across the rest of it. So the track will just be bolted down. That's it. So now that I know that it fires, I've got all the pressure, I can do this. Now I can actually start to put everything back together. As you can see, I have the tunnel cover on it. I have the gear stick on it with the spring and all in there, nice and neat. I had to play around. This is fiberglass. You wonder why there's a green patch on this. So I did get a replacement. This is a brand new tunnel cover. However, the one I got was for a non-overdrive, so you don't get the extra big giant portion on the side here for the gear to stick out. So I used a donor one that's sitting out there, and I took it off that one that I managed to pick up, and I took the pieces off it and basically cut it out and matched it onto this, so it'll fit. Yeah, they're not a great fit. Like, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it's a terrible fit. I really played with it a lot. So, but anyway, that's good there. And now I can start to clean that up, connect all the cables, put some carpet over all the way up, and now I can put the A-frame in because the carpet, everything goes else over that. So I can now put the A-frame in, tidy that up, and then I can go back to the gauges, start doing all the lights, electronics, all that jazz. I already started in the boot actually by lining up the carpet and everything. So yeah, I can move on to everything else now and leave the engine. I'm satisfied with that. Yeah, I'll have to look underneath and see if it's leaking anywhere. So I'm sure I'll find some puddles here or there and everywhere. It's going to leak at some point because I'm sure there's a lot of nuts and bolts I still haven't fully tightened up. But yeah, great progress. Obviously I'm going to get a new battery, but that's my user battery for now. But yeah, pretty happy. And yeah, I guess we have new big ass cars. I still like to know if they're HS6 or 8s. I'm pretty sure they're an 8. They're off a Jag. They're big, huge. There'll be a lot of power on this. I just hope the little fuel pump can keep up with it. If not, then we're going to be putting an electronic fuel pump in it. I'm going to bypass that and put an electronic one in it. Alright, that's it. Again, thanks for watching. I appreciate all the subscribers. As usual, any comments, questions, concerns, give me a shout and I'll try to help you as best I can. And yeah, it's getting closer to being done. As you can see, it's on wheels, so movable, but it's starting to look like a car now. So hopefully another couple of more weeks and you'll find us at a show. And by all means, if you do, go over and see Doug with it. He's put a lot into this. He really has put all his effort, blood, sweat and tears into this, and he'd appreciate it a lot if you go over and check out his beautiful 6 when it's all done. So anyway, alright, see you in the next part.